thousands of women at Fort Des Moines, and my friend Addie was one of them. So she took the Queen Mary, this huge ship that got turned into an army transporter in England, and on from there to Paris and then Berlin. But I'm going to read to you a section from the book, and it's from when she's overseas. She's in England. The Wacks marched back to their new barracks, a large, drafty room that Captain Kelly told them they didn't need to get used to. Our final destination is France, the captain announced. So why are we here? To teach you how to fire an M1 carbine. The girls gasped in unison. When Addie had boarded the Queen Mary, the Wack band had played Pistol Packin' Mama. But only a canteen had hung from her pistol belt. Addie looked around the room at the women she had been training with for months. She knew how they ran and climbed nets. She knew how quickly they ate in the mess and how long it took each one to shower. She didn't know how they would fare behind a gun. But she'd bet on Kara being a good shot. Captain Kelly continued, "Our orders are explicit. No personnel can go to the continent without having fired a weapon. So get some sleep. Tomorrow we fire away." The next morning, the girls ate their breakfast in near silence, only to be broken by Tess tearfully exclaiming, "I'm scared to death, I'll shoot myself." "Then don't," Virginia said. "The bullets only come out one end." Kara said, "There's nothing a man can do that you can't." "Oh, I'm sure there are some things," Tess replied, the color returning to her face. "That may be," Addie agreed with a smile, "but firing a semi-automatic rifle isn't one of them. Wacks have been here before us and proved it." They cleaned their plates and fell out onto the field for shooting practice with their first male instructor. He told them, "The M1's about 6 pounds loaded with the sling. I know you girls have lifted more than that, so go ahead and pick one up." The wooden body of the rifle felt smooth to Addie. She had seen enough movies to know how to shoulder it and to slide her finger over the trigger. She awaited instructions on how to load the magazine, a funny name for something that had nothing to do with fashion. And she refrained from squeezing the trigger until given the all clear. She exchanged looks with Tess, who no longer looked a bit fearful of shooting herself in the foot, and the instructor pointed to the targets and told them, "Give it your best shot, girls." Addie narrowed her focus through the sight, took a deep breath, and fired. 4 out of 5, she hit the center of the bullseye. She didn't think she could have done a better job than that. The instructor whistled for the Wacks to lay down their weapons and gather around. "You gals are sure fires," he said. "But you know, in the time it takes you to sight and fire, the enemy would be close enough to dance with you." Almost all the Wacks were asleep when the trucks arrived at 4 a.m., and another whistle called them to fall out. Addie popped out of her bunk and rolled her mattress like a bolt of fabric. She stepped in line to march out of the barracks in formation, and then climbed into an open army truck with her helmet shielding the rain from her face. She stretched her legs over steel jerry cans of gasoline and thought the cool air and the truck's rocky ride along the country road worked better than instant coffee to wake her up. The Wacks experienced more of the Army's hurry-up-and-wait schedule at the Litchfield train station. But finally, they were on their way to Southampton. Addie looked out the train window at England's rich green countryside. In stretches between the thatch-roofed cottages and stone manors, it almost reminded her of Iowa, with sheep replacing pigs. The halcyon views of farmers at the plow and smoke rising from the chimney of a schoolhouse made it difficult to believe they were in a country at war. Addie had a feeling France might not appear so untouched. At the Southampton Railroad Station, the Wacks shouldered their gear and hiked down to the water to board the small ship that would carry them across the channel. A group of GIs preceded them to the dock, and one of them backed up when he saw Adi's unit, nearly knocking his buddies into the water with the excuse, "Cranks! Women!" Adi laughed as she boarded first and found her quarters in the dank hold of the ship, where hammocks hung instead of bunks. She gave her unit a good show by trying to climb into the swinging bed. Each time she got tossed back out with one finger tangled in the macrame end. "I'll get the hang of it," Adi joked, hoisting herself back into the hammock. She held up a dingy blanket that smelled of fish and motor oil. "We may want to sleep in our field clothes tonight." She was surprised to find they were on the ship for much longer than one night. A voyage that should have taken just a few hours was prolonged for days, with an anchor dropped in the channel. Adi assumed they were waiting for just the right moment to elude German U-boats, an unsettling thought if she dwelled on it. At least in the meantime, they were afforded the luxury of being served their Army sea rations in a cozy dining room on the upper deck by waiters in white jackets. Then again, when a thunderstorm started on their fourth afternoon, Adi thought Winston Churchill could have served them dinner and she still wouldn't have been able to eat it. The typically formidable Kara turned a grayish green and excused herself from the dinner table. Adi followed her up to the deck, and when they hit a sizable wave, Kara lurched forward and lost her lunch over the side of the boat. Adi still wouldn't call her a friend, but she knew just how she felt, out of control and miserable. She placed a hand on Kara's back and looked out at the dark churning in the channel. The sky cracked open with a flash of lightning, drawing Adi's attention to the tower of a U-boat rising from the waves. Her eyes widened and were stung by a rush of wind. Was it possible she was the only person on board who saw the German submarine ahead? She glanced around, searching for a naval officer. "Captain," Adi called out over the sound of waves slapping the sides of their small ship. She left Kara crawling toward their quarters and ran up to the crow's nest. Moving closer to another bout of lightning, Adi felt her pulse quicken with every step up the slick stairs. She gasped for her breath when she reached the highest point on the ship. She got the attention of the soldier serving as lookout and pointed at the oblong shape in the water. "Gee, I don't know what we'd do without you gals," he said, cracking a wide grin. Adi looked back out at the water, blinking at their fate. "You found a U-boat, all right," he said, "one we sank months ago." Her cheeks turned pink with embarrassment, the rush of adrenaline, and the climb to the crow's nest. "Then I should congratulate you," she said. He nodded thanks. "Better stay below to ride out the storm, and I'll keep a lookout." "Sounds like a plan," she said, turning on her heels. The storm dissipated as they approached the French coast, where Adi saw more wreckage and debris in the water. The waste of war floated out around their small ship, making her all the more embarrassed that she had pointed a piece of it out to a serviceman who had likely seen it hundreds of times since the Battle at Normandy. Still, she told herself, better to err on the side of precaution when it came to German torpedoes. They anchored within views of Utah Beach, where a landing craft met their ship to ferry the wax ashore. So the Minnesota State Arts Board, this is who I thank for this opportunity. They applied for a grant, and so and the grant was to finish this novel and work with an editor to help me prepare it for publishing. And then part of what I proposed was that I would also go into veterans' homes and get to present the book and meet you all. And so it's I'm very fortunate to have that.